So think about a living room from just 10 years ago. You know, the chevron print rugs, the mass-produced particle board shelves.
Oh yeah, it already feels like a time capsule.
Exactly. I mean, why does that room feel hopelessly dated today, while a space designed in, say, 1955 can still look flawlessly modern? Welcome to this deep dive, where we're decoding the science behind timeless interior design.
Right. The mission here is really to figure out why some spaces endure.
Yeah, we're basically looking at your home like a capsule wardrobe. It's about finding that structural balance that outlasts the 5-year trend cycle without turning your living room into a sterile museum.
I really like that capsule wardrobe comparison, honestly, because it focuses on foundational pieces rather than, seasonal fads.
Right.
When a space achieves that kind of longevity, it's operating in a state of dynamic equilibrium. You're balancing visual harmony with the actual evolving physical demands of how you live in that space.
Okay, let's unpack those foundational pieces then. If we're trying to build this dynamic equilibrium, what structural styles actually survive the trend cycle?
Well, one of the biggest survivors over the last century is mid-century modernism. But the real takeaway here isn't about buying quirky angled chairs.
Right, it's not just the aesthetic.
Exactly.
Right.
It survives because it leans entirely on ergonomic functionalism. The designer stripped away all the unnecessary ornamentation and built the furniture to align directly with human anatomy.
So it never goes out of style because, well, human anatomy hasn't changed. Comfort and function win over complex decorations.
Comfort anchors the design, yeah. Another major strategy we see in the research is curated provenance.
Curated provenance, what's that?
It's basically the art of intentionally mixing eras. So you might pair a deeply patinated 19th century oak table with sleek, modern sculpted chairs, so the room isn't just anchored to a single decade.
I have to push back there a little bit. I mean, mixing a 19th century farm table with space-age modern chairs, doesn't that run the risk of just looking like a chaotic thrift store?
It definitely can, yeah.
So how do you do that without it feeling like a jumbled mess?
It's all about the materials you choose to bridge those eras. You rely on biophilic materials.
Like natural stuff.
Right, things drawn from nature, like solid oak, unpolished travertine, or slubbed linen. Because they are natural, they don't visually degrade.
Ah, they just age well.
Exactly. They develop this rich patina over time, which actually unifies the different styles.
That makes total sense. It's like the complete opposite of the fast fashion furniture most of us are used to. I mean, mass-produced particle board is practically designed to peel and chip.
Oh, absolutely.
But when you look at traditional solid joinery, like a dovetail or a mortise and tenon joint, that's what anchors a room's financial and architectural longevity. You just can't achieve a timeless aesthetic if the bones of the piece are fundamentally designed to fail under daily wear and tear.
The physical integrity of those pieces is crucial, for sure. But there's a flip side to this that we often completely ignore.
Oh.
Yeah, you can invest in that gorgeous solid oak table and those heritage linens, and then slowly degrade them over time with something completely invisible.
Wait, what do you mean? What's degrading solid oak?
The air quality and the ambient scent in your home. This is often called ambient architecture in the literature.
Okay.
Scent is an incredibly powerful spatial anchor, but the mechanics of how you distribute it matter immensely. You basically have two paths. First, you've got standard reed diffusers.
Right, the little sticks in the jar.
Yeah, the passive capillary ones. These naturally wick essential oils up through porous channels in the reeds. There's no heat and literally zero physical emissions.
So it's totally passive.
Yeah.
That sounds perfect for a hallway or a guest room where you don't want to leave an open flame burning.
Exactly. But the second path is melting wax. And this is where material science comes in, and you really have to look at what you're actually burning.
Oh, I buy a lot of candles.
Well, a lot of popular candles use paraffin wax, which is a petroleum byproduct. When it gets hot, it releases fine black carbon soot directly into the air.
Wait, hold on. So if I'm burning a cheap paraffin candle to make the room smell good, I'm literally releasing petroleum soot that coats the expensive travertine and custom textiles we just talked about.
Unfortunately, yes. That fine soot settles onto soft upholstery, custom paint, and it even gets sucked into your HVAC system. It actively degrades your physical environment.
That is wild.
Right. Contrast that with plant-based soy wax. Soy melts at much cooler temperatures. It produces minimal soot, and because it burns cooler, the candle actually lasts up to 50% longer.
Oh, wow. So protecting this capsule wardrobe of a home isn't just about using coasters and buying solid wood. It's about what you're pumping into the air.
Building a timeless space is really a multi-phase framework. You build that solid architectural baseline with good joinery, you layer in eclectic eras so nothing feels stuck in time, and you finish with clean, functional olfactory mapping.
Olfactory mapping, so like using eucalyptus in your home office to trigger focus, and maybe lavender in the bedroom to wind down. You're building an environment that supports you on every sensory level, without leaving a layer of toxic soot on everything you own.
It's about recognizing that every single choice you make, whether you can see it or not, contributes to how long that space lasts and how you feel while you're in it.
Which leaves you with this to mull over. If our homes fundamentally shape our psychology, how much of your daily mood is being subtly influenced by the invisible air quality and synthetic materials you've unknowingly normalized in your space?